Oh my goodness. Ridiculous. I can keep this place clean. What's up, Path Seekers? Today, I want to introduce you to some axles, but first I need to introduce you to... Get up there. Scout. This is my Gladiator. He was once a budget build on the channel. He was once my first RC. Like, literally, this was my first RC car that, like, actually had the pistol-style remote and all that. And I have slowly been upgrading him to the point I just absolutely love this truck. So, I've done a couple of little product reviews on my channel, and when someone comments and says, you know, I don't think you know how to build or how to drive at all, because, well, let's face it, they don't like my opinion about the product that they've obviously purchased and absolutely love. But anyways, when they say you don't know how to build or how to drive at all, the thing that comes to my mind is Scout in all of his glory. And I think, you know what? They're absolutely right. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I don't know how to build or how to drive. But all that's besides the point, because I'm going to try and put all the negativeness of the people behind me. Ooh, there we go. And we're going to talk about these little guy racing parts, Super 8s. What are they? How do they work? What are the upsides? What are the downsides? And do you want to put them on your rig? Well, I mean, who wouldn't want to put them on their rig? Who wouldn't want their rig to be able to do that? But nevertheless, let's get into it. Oh, he saves it. So this is Falling Rock. This is my RC crawler course / RC world, where I probably spend way too much time. Okay, fine, I live here. But if you haven't seen the videos that I've been uploading about building this, well, that's probably because you're not subscribed, and I really don't know what you need to do about that. But nevertheless, while I talk about these axles, I'm going to take Scout down a trail that I have tried to mimic the real-life trail Die Trying with. I think I've done pretty close to the style of trail that it is, but let's go ahead and do that. So, Super 8 axles. They call them that because they add 8 millimeters of width, and it's 8 millimeters of width to each side, which actually, when I measured them, I'm getting about 17.5 millimeters extra width over a stock axle. So, I mean, I guess you are technically getting more than you pay for. I don't think that's necessarily false advertising. But in a nutshell, these axles are stock axles that are 8 millimeters wider than the normal axles. I mean, in a nutshell, that's basically what it is. They use almost entirely stock parts, but there are some changes. A first thing you might notice is that the diff cover, I can't see the diff covers from here. Wait, maybe if I get out of here. Anyways, the diff cover is on the back, actually, and the pinion comes through the diff cover. This means we can have a very smooth and very sloped front differential and rear differential so that we don't get caught up on stuff so much. On mine, I am running brass differential covers. You have to kind of buy them from Little Guy. I don't know if there's any third-party, or is it third-party or is it fourth-party that, I don't know, that makes diff covers for the aftermarket axles. I know there are some other companies making the axle shafts, which we'll get to in a minute. But anyways, I have the brass diff covers on here to add a little bit of weight in the center, and I'm running, of course, the nylon versions of these axles. So the nylon versions are really cool because they're really inexpensive. I think it's only $11 for a steering axle, and it comes with steering knuckles, but it comes with plastic steering knuckles. They are kind of cool. They come with Little Guy on them and all that. But I already had brass steering knuckles on my rig, so I was able to swap them over because, like I said, these are very much stock axle shafts, just 8 millimeters wider on each side. So you just need... Okay, I'm sorry, you need different shafts, but they're stock housings. Everything else about them is normal. They use normal gears, they use normal steering knuckles, normal servos, normal rear upper link mounts. I'm actually just running the stock rear upper link mount on this because I just don't need it, because I have a very scale build going on, so we can't get crazy camber angles on our axles and all that. So one thing that you will kind of have problems with is shock mounting. Because they're so much wider, the shocks are a couple millimeters wider. Let's slow down and wait for those lugs to bite there. It'll give us time to talk. They're a couple millimeters wider than stock, which means if you have double barrel shocks, I have Little Guy Racing Parts 48 millimeter double barrel shocks on here, they may not move smoothly because it was kind of causing some side tension. Ooh, we're dragging that rock with us. And it was causing some binding. So all I did was take and put a longer screw in and 3 rubber washers on the top. I'm also running them upside down, and I pulled O-rings out of each of the, what do you call that? The ball joints. There they are. And also with these shocks, just as a side note, short review on them, they're great. You gotta Loctite them though, because they'll keep coming unscrewed. And don't Loctite them so that you get any Loctite in the cylinders, or they won't work at all anymore. Ooh, there we go. And that width, the added width, really lets you reach some obstacles that you couldn't before. Some downsides to that might be that the width may not look scale. Scout, he looks like a very, very heavily built Gladiator. The wheels I'm running are 64 millimeter Injora Swamp Claws. I love the traction, both on bare rock, and I love the grip texture on these. It works in the mud, it works in the dust, it works in the sand. I guess maybe I haven't tried actual beach sand with it yet, but it works in very dusty, sandy stuff. Ooh, oh, I need that front wheel to catch. Need that front wheel to catch on the inside of that rock, or we're not going to be able to get through here. Now let's talk about the turning angle. You notice how far we're turning. I think they're rated at like 45 degrees of turning angle. These things use U-joint axle shafts in the front. You can use CVDs, but they're not like 3-section CVDs. And a lot of the axles these days have moved towards using 3-section CVDs. Let's cover this for a second. I do wish Little Guy would make 3-section CVDs that fit these. Maybe we would need different custom steering knuckles or something to fit them. Here we go. However, the steering angle on this, getting bound up. Ooh, there we go. Guys, this section of the course is probably the hardest section, and I'm trying to do it while I'm talking, so hold on. There it is. So the steering angle is so good. I mean, I have 2 different sets of 3-section CVD axles from different brands. I don't really feel like you need it. I mean, sure, 3-section CVDs are great. I would put them on here if I could, but when you're actually crawling, I don't think that the 3-section CVDs are more capable than these. When you're turning at full lock, you do kind of get a chunking, chunk motion going on because you're using U-joints. And there's a little bit of binding at full lock, but still, these work, okay? So I'm not sitting in bed in the middle of the night. I wish I could put 3-section CVDs on my Super 8s. It'd be so much better. The world would be perfect if I could put 3-section CVDs. I'm not going to be happy until I have 3-section CVDs. Yeah, no. My opinion is they would be nice, but I'm not really missing them, okay? Let's talk about some durability issues. I did break a U-joint on these axles. But I was running brushless. I'm running 64 millimeter tires, and I had inserts in there. And the person driving it admitted to me that they may have floored it while at full lock. Ooh, we are binding up again. So that could have broken it. What I did was, I still have the inserts in there. I just swapped to Injora stamped steel wheels, and I have not broken another U-joint. And so when I broke the U-joints, I contacted Little Guy Racing Parts, and they did get back to me eventually. It wasn't super fast, and they told me they would give me 10% off buying a new set, which is nice of them, but at cheaper than 10% off a new set, I found these Ramp Crab Little Guy Racing Parts Super 8 axle shafts on Amazon, and it came in a pack of 2, so you get 4. So I went ahead and bought that because it was about the same price as buying one set from Little Guy. And now I have a couple extra sets sitting around because I love Scout. And when I have broken something on Scout and I can't drive Scout, just ask my family. I get kind of depressed that I can't go drive my favorite RC. So I have extra axle shafts laying around. But these Ramp Crab ones, let me talk about this for a second. They're kind of floppy. I feel like there's more play in them. Like, look how much play we have in the driveline here. I feel like I have more play in them than the Little Guy shafts. But I also haven't broken them, and I did break the Little Guy shafts. However, I have not run these with the heavy brass wheels on there. I really don't think I need the brass wheels, especially not when I have the inserts in here. I have Endura silicone inserts in the front, and I have cut foams in the rear. Look at it go. Just a little more gas. There we go. So, I think I would put these at slightly less durable than like a 3-section CVD. I feel like that's just a design that's going to give you a stronger base. However, these are plenty powerful enough. There's a lot of people running brushless on Super 8s. I dare say most Super 8s probably get put on a brushless rig because by the time you're going this wide, you are really trying to get some advantages here. Oh, I love this truck so much. Anyways, getting distracted. There's also other companies. One that I know a lot of people seem to go with is Deluxe Fab. They make a really beefy... Oh, my goodness. Are we going to make that? Nope. Wait. Here we go. They make a really beefy U-joint axle shaft to go in the front. I've heard that those are really good. I haven't tried one myself. Like I said, I just have the cheap Ramp Crab ones. But I have enough spares, because I bought them in an extra pack, that if I start breaking these, I will just go ahead and order some of the Deluxe Fab ones. Hopefully before I run out of spare axle shafts, which I just carry with me all the time now. I mean, look at that turning angle. It turns so tight, and the width adds so much stability. However, the width, again, could blow out your scale proportions. And now let's talk about the wheels you need to run on this. I really feel like you need to run 64 millimeters or larger on Super 8s. Your mileage may vary, and that's okay. If you like the look of smaller tires on here, that's fine. But before we went wide, I had 57 millimeter Proline Mickey Thompsons on here, and woo, there we go. And I liked the way that it drove on the stock width axles, but I was always getting my Gladiator kind of high centered, okay? And putting bigger tires on has really helped the Gladiator's high centering because it's so much longer that you can get a much flatter rock. It doesn't take such a sharp angle to beach the Gladiator, you know what I mean? So I feel like 64 millimeters is a really good size on a Gladiator, and especially with the Super 8s. The Super 8s are so much wider that with 57 millimeter tires on there, I was dragging the diff on everything. You couldn't go over anything without hanging up on the diff. But with the 64s on here, I feel like it high centers a little bit more than a shorter wheelbase, but in the center especially, I don't feel like it's so bad. And having bigger tires and a wider stance, I'm not going to call it worse, and I don't think I really want to call it better, but it is a very different type of crawling. And I think that this truck does still look scale. I think it looks realistic, even with wheels this big on it, because if you're going to really freak out about scale proportions, this camper is like almost a perfect square, and it would not... Camper, it's a tent. I'm sorry. But this tent is not scale dimensions for the truck. The bed on the Gladiator is far too short already, so the proportions are kind of off, but if you just kind of back up and you squint a little bit, there, it looks realistic. So that's enough for me. I'm happy. Let's see if we can dismount this rock. Ooh-hoo-hoo. So let's talk about some other advantages of running Super 8s. It uses stock gears. This means I can run whatever kind of gear ratios I want. I have 23% overdrive in the front, which helps with the turning. It helps a little bit with the climbing. It really just helps you stay under control when you're in, really technical sections. This is part of the reason I love him. You see, having the Super 8s push the wheels out so far, it means you can really flip yourself back over. And that's kind of an important thing for a comp. If you're doing like a class 1 where your wheels are within the fenders, it's going to be harder to do that. And so an advantage with the Super 8s is that if you already have some upgrades on your rig, like let's say you already bought brass knuckles. These are some brass knuckles that were some of the first upgrades that I bought. If you already have a servo that you like, if you already have some overdrive or underdrive gears, let's say you underdrove the whole rig 11%, that would be a cool first upgrade. It would give you more control, honestly. If you had those kinds of upgrades, they will transfer right over to your Super 8s. All you're going to need to get these things... Ooh, all you're going to need to switch to Super 8s on your rig is the steering linkage, which you got to get from Little Guy, I guess, and the axle shafts and the housings themselves. Everything else, you can use your stock hexes. It'll come with diff covers. You can buy the brass ones if you like. Oh, we got to go another way. You can use your stock servo mounts. I have a direct mount servo on here because I'm still using the stock frame. It's kind of the heart of the truck. I feel like I might never change the frame just so I can say that these frame rails have driven in all 50 states, because that's another thing I'm trying to do on my channel. I'm trying to drive scout in all 50 states. I travel the country a lot, so I got a pretty good opportunity to do it. And look at those nylon housings just sliding over that rock. Very nice. Come on. Here we go. You see this overdrive helping me a little bit as it pulls us through there. Here we go. So they're a great upgrade if you want to get to really good performance, but you already have some upgrades. Because if you go with something like the Endura Planet axles or the Mias Isokinetic axles, all of your upgrades aren't going to fit. I mean, I guess you can save the servo as long as you don't have a direct mount servo, because not all of the Mias axles will let you use a direct mount servo. I had this servo and I had some of these upgrades like the knuckles and everything on there, and I got the Mias axles and I thought they would fit on my Gladiator, but I couldn't use this servo on the Mias axles. And I like this servo and how it plays with the suspension travel so much that I decided to ditch the Mias axles and go with these. And on this build, I am so much happier because, like I said, with a Gladiator, you got to have those big wheels to match the wheelbase. And at that point, I really feel like the width helps. Pushing them further out means you can turn very tight without hitting your frame. Come on, there we go. And there's so much adjustability you can do with these. You can get alloy housings. I think they even offer like a brass housing if you want it to be really heavy. Durability is, again, maybe not the greatest, but it's definitely good enough. I mean, I've pinched this thing up pretty bad already, even just today, and they are working. And I like the scale looks. They're very smooth. I love the steering linkage and the way that it goes together. I think I'm running out of good things to say about these because, I mean, they just work. Woo. Oh my goodness, my battery died. Well, I guess all good things are going to have to come to an end eventually because my battery just died. But what do you think of the Super 8 axles? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Did you try them on a build and they didn't work? I would like to know about it in the comments below. Do you have a better option than Super 8s? I'm going to be honest, I absolutely love mine. I just love the way they fit the Gladiator. I love the way that it looks. I mean, here's a picture of a real Hemi-swap Gladiator on 40s that I saw at a Jeep meet. I don't think that this looks that far off, to be honest. It might be sitting on 1 tons, but that might be what you need to move all your junk and still rock crawl. So the only things to watch out for is if you put a ton of power behind these and you put some very heavy wheels on, I would watch those U-joints, guys. The worm drive gears are pretty strong. Forgive mine for being absolutely filthy. That's how you show a Jeep you love it. You get it muddy. And I love this Jeep. All right? And, I mean, make sure they fit your build. You can see how mine looks with them sitting outside the wheels like that. You might not like that on your build. I would make sure you run big tires because this is just going to hang up in the middle. A lot of comp crawlers I see run like 70mm tires, and then they're running like carrier bearings in the middle and extra long wheelbases and lots of very cool things that I don't have because I'm trying to keep mine looking realistic. And this thing crawls probably more than it should if it was good at, like, for scale crawling, the kind of stuff that this thing was going up. I love it. The other thing to watch out for is the shocks, because going wide lets you have a lot of flex, and you don't want the flex to mess up your shocks, and it can be kind of annoying because these are wider than stock, so it might bind up your shocks. However, you can overcome it. You can oil your shocks, you can run them upside down, you can remove O-rings, and you can space the top, especially. If you buy something like Endura shocks, they usually come with little silver washer spacer things that let you space it out on the top, and then just put in a longer screw, and you'll be good to go. The little guy shocks didn't come with that. And I paid more for the little guy shocks than Endura shocks. There is that. So, not trying to trash little guy, but that's just a fact. So tell me, what is your favorite axle and why? And have you tried all of them? I haven't tried all of them. I guess I've only got like 3 types of the aftermarket axles. Which one do I need to try next? What do you see that my Gladiator needs? I'm going to be honest, I love just the way it sits. I don't want to change anything on it. I don't want to turn another screw. It's just perfect. But I want to hear what you think in the comments below. If you want to see more of this, if you want to see me finish this crawler course, because I am not done building on it yet, you're going to have to stick around. There's a way for you to do that here on YouTube, but I'm not going to tell you how, because I believe you are smart enough to figure it out for yourself. If you enjoyed the video, there's a way to tell us that you enjoyed it, but I'm also not going to tell you how to do that, because you're smart enough to figure that out too. Until next time, stay safe. Remember to pull a winch line for your buddy every once in a while. Get outside and enjoy yourself. And most importantly, stick to the old paths. So sometimes I like to try parts on multiple rigs before I start uploading a review about them. And I didn't do that with these axles. I probably should have put them on a short wheelbase rig and tried them on that to see how I liked them. But I just love them on Scout so much, I can't bring myself to take them off.